Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and if you've been watching some of my recent deals videos, you've heard me talk about this topic quite a lot, and that is Borderlands 4. I've also noticed on social media it is getting a little bit of traction that the game is already on sale. Yes, the game has been out for a month, and it's not a deep discount, but the game is already 20% off. Mind you that this game came out just a month ago, and one of the big talking points leading up to the release of Borderlands 4 was the price point. Some people were concerned that it was going to end up being an $80 game. Randy Pitchford said that real fans will find a way to make it happen, and they'll spend the $70, and, you know, it was a huge discussion point. And really, my standpoint on Borderlands 4 leading up to the release of the game is, yeah, they eventually announced that the game was $70, but if you really read between the lines, looked at the content that was included in the Deluxe Edition and the Super Deluxe Edition, if you wanted all of the content, they were asking you to pay $130 on the game. $130, and the reality is, based on the fact that Borderlands 4 ballooned up in budget, it cost a lot more money to make Borderlands 4 than it did Borderlands 3. The fact is, they were expecting people and they wanted people to buy the Super Deluxe Edition, and I know people that did buy the Super Deluxe Edition, and ultimately, you know, I don't know if this game is successful. It's hard to say right off the bat, but based on some of the information that's already available, it's only a month after the release of the game, and this game has cratered in its concurrent player count. And mind you, this is one of those games that people are gonna play the game, they're gonna beat the game, and they're gonna move on. However, it should be noted that there is a live servicey type aspect to this game where they are rolling out content update, where they are bringing out new stuff. They're doing This Week in Kairos updates consistently. This is a game that very much they want you to come back to. They want you to be engaged into the experience. They want you to ultimately buy the DLC. And what I've noticed is I have buddies that have picked up the game, and it's a small sample size. However, the point that I've seen reiterated over and over again is people got to the end of the game, they beat the game, they're done. They're not coming back to this game, and we're talking about, I've talked to about 7 people, 7 of my close personal friends, and again, this is a small sample size, but I've seen this rhetoric online, and this is absolutely not what 2K wants. This is not what Gearbox wants, in the sense of people moving on from the game, and then them not coming back to buy the DLC. I do think it was a scumbag move for them to lock away the coolest Vault Hunter as the first piece of DLC, but even that, is that enough for people to come back and play the game? I think what it is the Borderlands gameplay is the Borderlands gameplay. This isn't a revolutionary game. I did enjoy the game, don't get me wrong. Playing it start to finish, I'm like, yeah, that was a fun game. Was it a $130 game? And that's what I always like to put myself in the position of when I assess these games. Look, I am in a very, very luxurious position. I'm never going to take it for granted in the sense that I was sent a copy of the Super Deluxe Edition, but I like to keep it 100 with you guys in the sense of trying to assess it from the standpoint of somebody that is being asked to drop $130 on this game, because you could drop $70 on the game, but in reality, again, if you want all the content, $130 is what you have to drop, and in no way can I recommend this game at $130. In no way! Especially with all of the incredible games that are coming out, and games that, you know, I like Digimon as well, but if you look at Digimon and what content is locked away in the highest end edition of Digimon, I think Digimon is one of those games you could pay $70 for and you're still getting a worthwhile experience. Borderlands 4, you can make the argument, hey, it's still worthwhile, but you're talking about sizable pieces of story-based DLC, 2 Vault Hunters, which Vault Hunters themselves, I feel like, are incredibly impactful to the overall experience. Yes, there's gonna be some, like, for example, with Digimon, there's a $100 edition that includes the season pass, and some Digimon are locked away in that $100 edition. I don't think that's game-changing, like a couple Digimon being in the special edition, and but with 2 Vault Hunters, that's sizable. Story-based content as well, and this is something we've seen in a lot of other games, you know, story-based content locked away in a season pass, but when you're talking about a $100 deluxe edition, and that not having all of the content that you really want, but you gotta get that super deluxe edition, at a certain point, we gotta look at the price points of these games, right? And it doesn't even matter if you're at the IP, if you're an IP at the level of a Borderlands, if you're an IP of the level of an Assassin's Creed, at some point people are going to be like, brother, there's games like Hollow Knight Silksong coming out at $20. There's games like Claire Obscure Expedition 33 coming out at $50. There's games like Oblivion Remastered coming out at $50, and people are going to gravitate towards those. Now, Borderlands 4, it did crack, what was it, 240,000 concurrent players? Let's actually pull up the number. It might have been even higher than that. I want to give you guys an accurate number as far as how high it got. Let's pull up Borderlands 4 charts. It got to 304,000 concurrent players. And while that number on the surface may look like a good number, remember the budget that was tied to this game. That's an okay number. And you could say, hey, it beat out Borderlands 3. First of all, Borderlands 3 came out in 2019 when PC gaming was nowhere near the level that it is at now. And, Borderlands 3 came out at a 6-month delay on Steam. Borderlands 4 came out day one. Remember, Borderlands 3 was an Epic Games Store exclusive, and Borderlands 4 came out day one, had a much bigger budget, and I would say the 300,000 peak number is honestly underwhelming relative to the IP that Borderlands is, and even more importantly, the fact that it's cratered all the way down to 10% of that initial audience, I think is something absolutely worth looking at. 304,000 was the all-time peak. Right now, as I'm recording this video, 34,000 people are playing the game. That is a absolute cratering of the concurrent player count, where, again, a lot of these games, you play it, you beat it, you move on. Borderlands 4 is the type of game they want you, engagement is the name of the game here, they want you to remain engaged into it, and I do think that's something worth talking about. If you look at Expedition 33, Expedition 33 is an interesting game where it actually peaked in concurrent player count a month after its initial release, 2 weeks after its initial release, I should say, but it was still steady a month after its initial release. It came out in April of 2025, and it opened up at like 50,000 concurrent players. A month later, it was still at 100,000 concurrent players. 2 months later, it was at 80,000 concurrent players, so the sustainability was there. And that's, again, an interesting example where Expedition 33 had this kind of, you know, gradual build-up. But Borderlands 4, if you really look at the numbers, I would say this is incredibly disappointing, and people can, oh, it's 300,000. You have to think about it from the standpoint of relative. Yes, it's 3x higher than Borderlands 3. That 6-month delay cooked Borderlands 3 from a concurrent player count standpoint. It had a far bigger budget, and you're talking about a game that didn't have a delayed release. I would actually say the number is underwhelming, and I don't know how you could look at this game and be like, oh, it's a resounding success, and it's already on sale a month after release. How many games see a 20% discount a month after release? It's few and far between. You'll see launch discounts here and there, but I still think it's something very interesting to talk about, and everybody, while I was doing preview videos, there were so many comments that I saw about Borderlands 4. Brother, I ain't spent $70 on this game. Catch me a year or two from now and when the Super Edition or the Ultimate Edition, because guess what? That $130 edition, that might not end up getting you all the DLC. Borderlands 3 ended up doing a second season pass, so it very well could be. You paid $130 and 2 years from now, they're gonna ask for another $30 or $40 for another season pass, and what does that say? I feel like that's kind of insane as well. It's just something interesting to talk about, and yeah, I just don't know if Borderlands has that juice anymore as an IP, and obviously the PC numbers are a little bit more interesting to assess because we all know the train wreck that was the PC version of this game. I think Randy Pitchford did this game no favors. Like, how could any of his tweets have been a positive? That's just insane to me. You should use your social media platform to promote your games, and how he handled that situation, there's no way that could be a net positive for the game. It just couldn't be, and you know, maybe a discount like this is normal. I could have imagined a discount like this in November, during the autumn, the autumn sale already happened, but let's say during the winter sale, you know, that would be one thing. A month after release, I do find it surprising. I find how far this game has fallen in its player base, and I hate looking at concurrent player count too much because the natural course of events is you play a game, you beat a game, you move on. And if this game lost like 60% of its concurrent player base, it would be a non-story. Losing 85 to 90% of your player base, I think is absolutely a story when you're talking about a month after release, coupled with the fact the game already going on sale. I don't know, maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of this, but I do think it's a story worth discussing, and I think there's been so much made about the price point of this game, the $130 Super Edition, and then also, what does this mean for the future of Borderlands as an IP? I think it's still obviously got a lot of juice behind it, but I do think it's not this juggernaut of an IP, and I think the cat's kind of out of the bag at this point of people being like, hey, we know what to expect in the sense, and the hardcores are going to pick it up, but I think a lot of people are just going to be like, yo, these games are not worth picking up day one. Catch me in 2 to 3 years, and people are willing to wait. I think that more than anything, and ultimately, I do think this game is going to sell millions upon millions of copies when all is said and done, but I think a lot of those millions are going to be sold when the game is, you know, $20 for all the content. But let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Interested to hear from you guys, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.